Hi there, and welcome to the UbiOps demonstration video. First things first, what's UbiOps? Well, UbiOps is a scalable, versatile, and user-friendly MLOps solution designed to make it easy to deploy and manage your machine learning models, store your data, create pipelines, and handle requests, all without breaking the bank. In this video, we'll be walking you through each of those steps. If you want to know more about a particular step, head over to ubiops.com/docs, where we've included plenty of helpful tutorials and templates. That's enough stalling, let's get into it. Now, the first thing we'll want to do is create an account. We can do this by navigating to the ubiops.com homepage and clicking on Create a Free Account. Here, we'll have the option to create a UbiOps account either using our email or our preferred SSO. Within a few clicks, we'll be good to go. Once we've created an account, we get to pick how we want to interact with UbiOps. The first option is to use the UbiOps web app if you prefer to manage your whole account all in one place, from your models and projects to your permissions and file storage. The second option is to install the UbiOps Python or R client libraries and work from Jupyter Notebooks, RStudio, or whichever IDE you like to use. To do this, you'll need to create an API token in the web app first, which you can then use to securely interact with UbiOps from your device. The final option is to install the UbiOps command line interface and work from a terminal. You can find quick starts for Windows, macOS, or Linux in the documentation section of the UbiOps website. And please note that you can use all of these interfaces interchangeably. No need to stick to just one. Alright, now that we have an account, let's make our first model. For this demonstration, we'll be using the web app, but rest assured, this can also be done using the UbiOps Client Library or CLI. Let's head over to the Deployments tab and click on Create. Next, we need a name. This deployment is going to take an input and multiply it by 2, so let's call it multiply. In this case, our input and output will both be numbers, so let's call them number and number multiplied, and set their field type as integer. After providing that information, UbiOps will generate Python and R deployment package templates that can be downloaded and edited. Once we've grabbed the template folder and unzipped it, we can open the deployment.py file, add our code, hit save, zip the folder again, and voila! Our model is ready to be uploaded. Easy, right? Remember, if your model requires any external libraries, make sure you add them to the requirements.txt file. For the next step, let's pop back to the web app and click Next, Create a Version. To load our deployment package, we'll need to associate it with a version. This is our first version, so let's leave the name as it is and upload the zipped folder we just created. And don't forget to set the language. Then, click Create. When the deployment status changes from building to available, we're ready to start multiplying. Alright, we've put all that work into setting up our deployment. It's time to run it. To do this, we create what's called a request to feed an input to the deployment. Let's select our deployment and click on the Create Request button. Then, for this example, let's define the input as the number 5 and click Create Direct Request. When it's completed, a results window will appear with our output, the number 10. Congratulations! You've run your first deployment in UbiOps. Now, what if we want our deployments to run automatically at certain times or at specific intervals? Well, we can just create a scheduled request that will quickly and easily put together a cron expression to make that happen. And if our deployment isn't working and we want to do some debugging, we can head over to the Logging tab to find out what went wrong. Another useful tab is Monitoring, which contains a handy dashboard of performance and credit usage metrics, such as the number of daily successful requests that have been made in a project, or the average compute time per request for a deployment. You can tailor the dashboard to your preferences by combining both default and custom metrics. With custom metrics, you can customize and track your own metrics for training runs, deployments, and pipelines. Monitor model-specific metrics like accuracy, loss, and precision. Check out metrics in the Monitoring tab of the UbiOps web app to create your own. With UbiOps, you can manage your code's environments separately, creating reusable environments with dedicated programming languages, dependencies, and other helper files that you need. This can help standardize your deployments and reduce build times. To use this feature, we can head over to the Environments tab to create, view, and adjust environments. Don't worry, you can still create deployments with their own code and dependencies, in which case an environment will be automatically created for you. You can then find and add revisions to it here when needed. Okay, so in most cases, if you're developing machine learning models, your inputs are going to be files, like a CSV with a couple dozen variables, or images if you're working with computer vision. So the next thing we might want to set up is file storage. With UbiOps, we can link our cloud storage solution to our account and access our files that way, or we can just store our files in UbiOps. Either method will ensure our deployments have a location from which they can grab input files or place output files. All we need to do is navigate to the Storage tab in our account and click on Create New Bucket. When you create a new bucket, you can either choose to create a UbiOps bucket, which is stored with UbiOps on Google Cloud, or you can connect to an existing cloud bucket of your own. In the latter case, we just use the provider dropdown to select what kind of cloud storage we want to connect to and fill in the appropriate credentials below. Then we just pick a name, description, and labels for our bucket and click Create. Simple as that. Let's try something a little more advanced. There may be times where we'd like to run multiple deployments back to back. For example, let's say we want to multiply a number multiple times. To do this in UbiOps, pipelines are the way to go. From our project dashboard, we can click on Pipelines in the Resources box. Then, create your first pipeline, or follow the starter tutorial provided. Just like for deployments, we need to attribute a name and a version, and define the inputs and outputs for the start and end of our pipeline. Click Create, and now we have a canvas to work on. Click the Enter Edit Mode button, and simply drag and drop a deployment from the Deployments panel into the pipeline editor. We then need to link all our objects together and define the source and destination fields. Think of these like feeding the output of one deployment into the input of another, so it knows what to work with. Click Save, and we're done. When we want to run our pipeline, we can just trigger it with a request, same as a deployment. You can also now add pipelines as objects within other pipelines for even more modular workflows. Create mini pipelines for common tasks and combine them in endless ways. Besides extensive capabilities for live deployments, UbiOps also supports model training or retraining. Our training functionality allows you to easily kick off training jobs on different compute resources with a fast development cycle. To use this functionality, let's head over to the Training tab and click on Enable Training. Then we can click on Create New under the Experiments subtab to create a new experiment. We need to define a name, description, an instance type to use for training, the code environment, and, optionally, a default bucket for output files, any environment variables, and labels to help categorize our experiments. Then, click Create. Now that we have an experiment, we're going to want to create a training run within that experiment, because while an experiment defines the training setup to be used, a run is the actual training job. So let's click on Create Run and define the name, description, an optional max timeout after which a run will be automatically stopped, the training code that needs to be run, the training data we want to use for this run, and, if we like, some specific parameters. Whether the training code is passed as a zipped folder containing any dependencies, or as a single Python source file, the main file with the training code itself needs to contain a train function, where, for example, we'll specify the performance metrics that our run will output. More information and code snippets for this in the documentation section of our website. Once that's done, we just click Create and wait for our run to complete. Or, if we want, we can cancel the run. When it's done, we can view the results, logs, or script used for each individual run. By expanding our run, we can also locate any output files that the training run produced. Additionally, we can compare between runs by selecting 2 or more runs and clicking Compare, or by navigating to the Evaluation subtab under Training. This is a great way to see which of our training runs have the best performance across the metrics that we defined in our train function. There we have it. We've created a deployment and ran it with a request, linked our file storage with UbiOps, created a pipeline to chain together multiple deployments, standardized our deployments with custom code environments, and trained a machine learning model, all within UbiOps. One last piece of advice for the admins out there: if you head over to the Permissions tab, you can manage access control for UbiOps features and customer data, as well as create those API tokens we mentioned at the start of the video.
Managing your projects just got easier with our new centralized project settings section. From here, you can view distributed usage across projects or drill down to the deployment level to get a more granular perspective.
That's it from us. Thanks for watching this UbiOps demonstration. For more guides and tutorials, head over to ubiops.com/docs. You might also want to check out our socials, where we post about use cases and software integrations. See you soon!